Welcome to Dynamics Corner. This is Kris.
And this is Brad. This episode was recorded on February 13th, 2023. Kris.
Hey, welcome back.
Here we are again, my friend.
Yes.
To another great episode of In the Dynamics Corner Chair. But before we get into who the guest was and what we spoke to them about, did you notice anything different about me?
Yeah, you get the pin.
You see, I have the pin on today.
I love BC.
My I love BC pin. A few episodes ago, we had Shannon Mullins and Steve Chinsky on talking with us about migrating from GP to Business Central. And Shannon had told us she would send us a tumbler and a pin. And in this episode, I wore my pin. And I'm going to wear it going forward.
Yes, that's a good one. I'll put it on my... I'll put mine right here in my collar.
You should wear it. I didn't know if I should put it on my hat or if I should put it on my
You should put it in your collar just so you can see a little higher. Because down the bottom, sometimes your camera doesn't show it at times. Put it in your collar.
I'll have to take that under advisement for the next episode. But in this episode, I was truly inspired.
Me too, man. This is exciting.
I learned a lot. We had the opportunity to speak with Anya Ciecierski from the ERP SoftwareBlog to talk about what members of the ERP SoftwareBlog community and readers of the ERP SoftwareBlog community can get from that, as well as talked about some great blogging tips. Good.
Yep.
All right. Is everybody ready to go?
OBS.
Great. I'm just going to pause just to make you all just wait to see what I say. It's how we start these things. A little behind the scenes humor. Anya, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time of day it is, wherever everyone is. Thank you for taking the time to speak with us today. I appreciate you, here to talk with us about, the ERP SoftwareBlog. There's a lot of resources available for both partners as well as users of the Business Central application. And one thing, that we have come across is your ERP SoftwareBlog. So we're interested in speaking with you about, the ERP SoftwareBlog and what a partner, can benefit from by the ERP SoftwareBlog, as well as what readers of the content that are on ERP SoftwareBlog can get from your wonderful website. I like it a lot.
Well, good. I like it too. It's been my little project back since 2009, and it still keeps growing. And
so you started it back in 2009. If you could, with that, before we get into some of the discussion about the benefits of it and what members of the ERP SoftwareBlog community can get from it as part of a resource, tell us a little bit of history about it. 2009 is quite a ways back. Here it is, 2023.
Yeah, it was kind of back when nobody knew what blogs were, at least in our industry. It was very new. So I've worked in sales and marketing in the Microsoft Dynamics channel, mainly in the GP channel, since 1999. I think back when you started as well, Brad.
Yes, dinosaurs. I'm sorry.
Exactly.
I'm the dinosaur. You're not a dinosaur.
It was good. So I came home from a Microsoft event and told my SEO consultant, Dave, we need a blog. Microsoft says we need a blog to get leads, and I don't know what that is, but that's what they say is new and cool in the marketing world. And he said, as a small VAR, who's going to write for it? Who's going to read it? Who's going to link to it? Might be good for your ego, but it's not going to give you any leads. He said the phrase that kind of changed both of our lives at that point, if you had a lot of companies all contributing content and links, that could be a powerful blog. And I thought, well, I know a lot of people already. So we started with he and I together, partnered up. We've been business partners here for like 12 years. I've met him like twice in person in my life, even though our lives are all intertwined now.
Wow, that's interesting.
Wow.
So we started it back in 2009 with kind of 10 pretty visionary Microsoft Dynamics GP VARs, and got a little bit of seed money from Microsoft at that point to do some things that they couldn't do, like have pricing tools and things that their legal department wouldn't let them do. And the whole theory behind it is just to use the power of the group. So by all of us contributing content and links to this one site, it grows the site bigger, 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 bigger. So now it's gotten to the point, across our 3 blog sites that we get about 90,000 visitors a month, have very high domain authority. And that makes the content that everybody publishes more popular in Google search results, helps the backlinks for their own site. So by kind of contributing to that group effort, we're helping everybody. The high tide rises all ships kind of mentality. So
nice.
That's how it started, and that's how it's still going.
Mentality, and I say that on many episodes when we speak with many guests, to talk about resources available for members of the community, and I like the way that you phrase it, the high tide rises all ships, because it is, give good exposure to the product gets more use, and users with more use need people to assist them, or companies to assist them with implementation of various features.
We all win.
And we all win. So you started off with GP back in 1999, and trying to think back to the time, I think everybody thinks now of the internet as, a staple in their lives, but back, I'm trying to think what was even available. I know back when we started in 1999, it was dial-up.
The internet was invented.
The internet was invented.
Not that old. But I was, I think just a year or so before Microsoft purchased Great Plains is when I got involved with it. But definitely digital marketing, this whole online SEO marketing was in its infancy, right? And that's why I say we started with kind of 10 pretty visionary partners at that time to do this. And now we have 150 VAR and ISV partners that participate. And I'm really happy that I think 8 out of the 10 of the original members are still members of the blog site. They're still contributing content. So all these years.
Wow, that's great. So you have 8 out of the 10, and now you're up to 150 VARs and ISVs. With it being the ERP SoftwareBlog, is it application agnostic, or is it focused on Great Plains, Business, or GP, Business Central? I always get messed up with the names these days. They change so often.
Yeah, so it started out in the early days as just GP only, because selfishly that's what I was marketing, right? But we quickly expanded it to include all of the Microsoft Dynamics ERP product line, so old and new, all the old names, all the new names, and then we added the CRM SoftwareBlog, which is Microsoft Dynamics 365 CE, customer engagement, whatever they call those, sales, marketing, customer service. So we kind of differentiate the two in that way. But definitely on the Microsoft Dynamics 365 Business Central category, that would be the ERP SoftwareBlog. And we have a lot of VARs and ISVs that produce content exclusively for that, to educate prospects in the software evaluation kind of phase, as well as some user-oriented content as well on our site.
So the content on your site is provided, and you have multiple domains. You said you have ERP SoftwareBlog, CRM SoftwareBlog. I like that SoftwareBlog. Are there any other domains you had? I think you had mentioned you have.
We also have the ERP Cloud blog, and we started that blog just a few years ago to address the needs in the market that a lot of our Microsoft Dynamics partners were also selling additional ERP lines, such as Acumatica, Sage Intacct Suite. So that gives them a space to blog about those products, as well as Microsoft, but predominantly the other ERP cloud offerings.
So you get a mix of partners that are offering both, or multiple ERP?
Yeah, we do. So on the ERP SoftwareBlog, they focus and write content, post content just for Microsoft Dynamics. We really keep that very focused so that everybody coming to the ERP SoftwareBlog knows they're reading about Microsoft Dynamics and how awesome it is. But if you want to post on the ERP Cloud blog, then you can also post about how awesome Acumatica is, or Sage Intacct, or other products that you might sell, because there are a lot of VARs out there these days, especially that have diversified and sell more than one product line.
Okay, so the VARs and ISVs that are members of your blog, I'm assuming the structure across all three are similar, where they become members of your community, which I'll call each one of those blogs a community. Or maybe, globally, it's one big community with 3 subsections. So they become members of your community, and then they have the opportunity to post content there. and using the masses to gain visibility to what their content that they're providing is, in essence, to help, like you said, rise all tides, as well as get a little more exposure for them while educating, readers of the community.
Right. So if somebody writes a nice blog post about, say, why is Microsoft Dynamics BC the best choice for, waste management companies, or some niche, or what are the features of Dynamics 365 Business Central that are new in this release, things like that. Of course, they can post that blog article on their own website, and they should. People are, coming to their site expecting to see content. However, by posting it out on a bigger blog site, they're potentially getting different people to look at it and more people to look at it. Because of the size of our site and the domain authority, the articles on our site come up higher in search rankings than usually you would for your own website, right? So it's a little bit outdated, but sometimes I use the local newspaper, national newspaper analogy, right? You could put an ad in a local newspaper, and probably the people you want to see are going to see it, but in a national newspaper, you're potentially getting a bigger, more broad audience that probably hasn't heard of you yet. And you also want to be listed where all your competitors are listed, right? So we have directories by name, by industry focus, by product name, by location. So when a prospect is out there searching for a BC implementation partner or a BC add-on tool, you want to be listed there as well. Or companies should want to be listed there.
So from a partner ISV point of view, they can gain exposure. And then from a reader, what would you call? I understand that we had this conversation before. A partner ISV would be a member of your community, and then somebody looking for information about one of the products that are across one of your sites. What would we classify them as for the conversation?
Yeah, we would just call them a reader, a prospect, a web browser, a web reader. So we don't gate any of our content, meaning nobody has to sign up to read it. So the goal would be somebody types in, Dynamics BC for waste management industry. They see an article pop up at the top of the search results, click on it. It's the blog on the ERP SoftwareBlog. The goal is that they read that and they say, wow, this company, they really know what they're talking about. I can tell they know the lingo. They've worked in my industry. Let me click on these links that are in the article. And that brings them back to your website as the VAR, which then you can turn them into a lead from there. I often suggest you have strong calls to action in your blog posts, like maybe a link to an on-demand video, a link to a checklist to download, anything that you can do to then capture that information and put them in your nurture database.
So it is convenient, I think, for a prospect or a reader, because in essence it becomes almost a one-stop shopping where you can quickly get a list of partners, VARs, or products, and have a comparison, I guess you could say, because you can see some of their content and also link back to them without having to browse through multiple pages. And from a partner point of view, it is a nice marketing tool for them to get exposure for them. As part of a member of the community, are there any other tools or pieces of information that they get as part of becoming a member of this site to maybe help them publish their blogs or to get some more call to actions, as you said?
Yeah. So I love marketing. I love talking about Microsoft Dynamics marketing. I'll go to all the shows and things, and I give my members a lot of tips on how to come up with blog content easier, how to make writing less painful, how to get your billable consultants to actually write blog posts, which I know when I was the director of marketing at a VAR, that was, unheard of, to get a billable consultant to write me a blog post. But there are ways to do that, to really capture that information from them and turn it into content, which is extremely valuable. I really like blogging as a marketing tool. Obviously, I'm a little prejudiced about it nowadays since it's my career, but I like it because it works for you for so long. So if you get a good blog post with lots of good, strong industry keywords, and post that's out there working for you for years. I mean, we still get so much traffic on posts that are posted a while ago that are still driving traffic and leads back to people's websites. So it's not like maybe an email campaign that you send out once and then it's deleted or buried in the inbox. Good strong content is always working for you.
Sorry, I got a quick question. You mentioned earlier, you said you're nurturing database. That's a very interesting word, bringing in customers. So can you tell me a little bit about what do you mean by nurturing database?
Yeah, so as part of a good marketing strategy, any VAR or ISV wants to be collecting information from their prospects, contact information, and then nurturing them, right? So they might not buy from you the day that you have the first contact with them, but you want to keep your name in front of them. So obviously using a good CRM system and a marketing automation system, but even inexpensive tools like MailChimp and Constant Contact, things like that, can actually help you to store those names, those email addresses that you've gotten in a legal way. And then you can schedule out, say, drip email campaigns so that your emails are seen by them, sent to them maybe once a month. You could put them in campaigns where they get a case study sent to them, and then a couple months later they get an offer to a webcast, and a couple months later they get this. So it's really just playing the long game in marketing and trying to build your list, because that list is extremely valuable.
I can see that. And I know I have lots of conversations with Kris about that. I use a different analogy, but I always say, you don't always need a plumber. But when you do need a plumber, if you're a plumber, you want someone to know you exist, right? So, having that marketing, of having the truck with the advertising, having the flyers go out, because like you said, somebody may be going through the process, but having a good campaign to keep you current, whether it's with content and blogging, so they keep seeing, your business is contributing or, demonstrating knowledge. I'm big on that, because you show that you're an expert. You don't necessarily have to say, pay me, I'm an expert. I'm going to demonstrate that I'm an expert so that you want to use my service. So to what Kris...
Right. If you want to be seen everywhere, right? You want your name to become ubiquitous. Whenever they're typing in Microsoft Dynamics 365 BC, you want your company name to be popping up all over the place. So that's on your website, on our blog site, on the Dynamics, community, other websites, maybe the event websites. I was talking to one of my members, Andrew King from Webspan, the other day, and he said that's their strategy, is just to be seen everywhere, become ubiquitous, so that when people need him, they say, oh yeah, that's Webspan, that's who I'm going to go to. Or I wrote a case study for Kristen Hossman over at Mount Evans Consulting. And somebody, the client had said, I was looking in all these forums, and this one name kept popping up as the one person that kept answering all the questions. Well, then who did she go to for her implementation project? It was Kristen, because she kept seeing her everywhere, No,
I do see Kristen everywhere, and we did have the opportunity to speak with Kristen on here as well.
Yeah.
Which was,
But it's hard, because it's hard to come up with content. I get that. It's hard, you and all the other implementation consultants out there, you're focused on solving customer problems, learning the software. It's not easy to just sit down and write a blog post. But,
you do that late at night.
Yeah. Some of the tips, though, that I give people a lot is to record and transcribe. So, for example, as a marketing person, I would call the billable consultant, the subject matter expert in my company, and say, okay, I need just 10 minutes of your time. Answer this question for me. Tell me 5 questions every prospect asks you in a sales call. Tell me the top support questions that came in last month. Tell me why our product is better than XYZ competitor. And just let them talk, stream of consciousness speaking. And I would record that and then use a transcription service to get a Word document back within a few hours. And then from that Word document, you can polish it up into a blog post, or even send that to an inexpensive writer that doesn't really need to know our industry, because all the keywords and the meaty stuff is there. They just need to know how to polish it up so that it sounds clear. That's a great way to get a blog post. Again, talking to Kristen, I was talking to her the other day on this case study call, and she was talking about how she used Power Automate to connect Dynamics Business Central to another product. And I said, okay, that's a great example. Have you ever done that for anyone else? Yes, I have. Talk to me for a few minutes about that. I said, excellent. So there's 2 examples right there of using Power Automate to integrate a tool with Dynamics 365 Business Central. That's a blog post. So we just write that up. We already have the content done.
That's fascinating.
Whereas for her, that would have taken so long to sit down and think, well, what am I going to write about? I don't know. So all of you experts have so much information trapped in your brains that just getting an easy way to get it out will give you an unlimited source of blog content.
No, that's amazing.
Every time I talk to
I get excited when I hear things that you have to say, because to me it's inspiring, because it's some things that are so simple that may not be so apparent that can give someone what you need. So now, to go with what you're saying, from a business point of view, to get a little more exposure, have blog posts, publish, in a national magazine, to use your analogy, to get some more exposure. But then also the recording and transcribing is another tip, because you can almost do that anywhere. I have conversations when I'm in the car with somebody about, projects or tasks or other things that need to be done. Whereas if somebody were to call me and ask me questions, that car ride, I'm going somewhere, and you could also record it. So I think that's great. And then you can provide content on the website.
Or your podcast, for example. I listened to the podcast you did with Shannon Mullins, and afterwards I emailed her and said, you know what? You had a section in there on what features in Dynamics GP are you missing in Dynamics 365 Business Central, and vice versa. I said that would make an excellent blog post. Just get a transcription of that section and polish it up a bit. You've got a blog post, and to her, that information comes out so easily. And yet that's really exactly what prospects want to hear. That's what they're looking for. A lot of times blog posts just end up being a lot of marketing fluff, I'll be honest. But what we really need, what prospects really want, is that deep information that the consultants have in their head.
And it gives you exposure. Do you have any other tips that you could share? I know that you do this for the members of your blog, but or your community. I'm
an open book.
Oh, no, it's good. I'm just looking for some additional, we talked about, the exposure in marketing, just to recap, talked about possibly getting content from resources by transcription and recording. What are some other tools or tricks, that someone could do to get more exposure?
To get more
blogging
exposure,
tips, I guess you could say. Either one is fine.
To get more content, either one. So I think turning conversations into content, a little bit like what we touched on, when you're talking to a prospect, when you're talking to a customer, just write down those questions and then record yourself answering them for a couple minutes. You can use those as a blog post. You can also put those out on LinkedIn. LinkedIn marketing is huge when it's done the right way, in an informative way and with personal connections. I also think videos are an excellent tool to use in blog posts as well. Add a summary at the top, a few hundred words, paragraph or so, embed the video, and then even put the transcription of the video underneath it. Because again, it's just packed with all those keywords that you want the search engines to read. And there are people that just maybe would want to skim that instead of watching the video.
That is something I was just about to ask, and you had mentioned, is as I was thinking, as I was listening to you speak, is there a length of blog post that you find is more effective? I mean, you said over 90,000 visitors to your community each month. I mean, is there something that you could take from the visitors and what they view? Is there a specific length that somebody should target? And then also, you had already answered the video piece. I was going to ask about, along with the length, incorporating video in there and how effective that may be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so if you embed a video in a text, you should aim to have at least 350 words with that video, because you want to give the search engines enough text to crawl or to index. So for just a text blog post, that gets very controversial, because there are a lot of search engine optimization specialists out there that will tell you, you know what, your blog posts have to be 1,000 words, 1,500 words in order to really rank. I really don't agree with that. And we've seen evidence from our blog sites that those are not the blogs that always get the most traffic. Because a lot of times when somebody's trying to make a blog post that long, they just end up repeating themselves over and over again. It becomes monotonous. And unless it's a really compelling topic, to get someone to read 1,500 words takes a lot of time. It's difficult. So we find a nice sweet spot is maybe around 750, 500, 750 words, like a page type,
I agree
type
with
thing.
you.
So I don't think the length is as important as the keywords. Using really strong keywords in your title, in your heading. A suggestion I give a lot is that you need to look at your headline standalone by itself and ask yourself, if somebody read this headline, this title of my blog post, would they know who should read it and what it's about? Because sometimes people try to get kind of cute and just put a few words or some kind of inside joke or something. And the search engines don't know what it's about. People don't know what it's about. You have to make it compelling so that somebody sees just that title and knows enough to click on it to read that article.
Straight to the point.
So the title is important to draw you in. The length. I agree with you with the length because I myself search, for things on the internet. I'm just like I think probably 99.999% of the planet. And if I come across a blog post that's too wordy, or it's difficult to follow, like you had mentioned, you may get the keywords and you get the ranking, but within the first paragraph or so, if I feel that it's too wordy, I go on to someone else. Or
the value goes away.
Yes, and then
excellent point. And the first sentence is so key too, because the goal is the first sentence has to be so engaging that someone reads the second sentence. So a lot of times people put some fluff kind of stuff in the first few sentences, then they get to the meat. But actually, you need to start out really strong, catch people's attention so that they keep on reading.
Along with the video, another thing I've noticed with videos that I find is helpful, people have been bookmarking points in the videos. I know with YouTube, if you're using YouTube videos, you can put like a table of contents and say, minute 1, I'm talking about X, minute 3, I'm talking about X. How effective do you feel that is? And is there an ideal length for a video? And then on top of that, I love asking a lot of questions to make people try to remember a lot of things. What about images in the blog posts? Like, how effective are images in the blog posts along with my video questions?
So the video question, I would say, I think that's extremely helpful for people to put those markers in there. I don't know that I could say that there was a length of video that was best or worst, because it really just depends on what it is. If it's a demo and it's an interesting demo that people need to see, it can be quite long because you need to have a lot to show. If it's just an overview video, you want it to be short, concise, grab attention type of thing. So I think it really depends on what type of video it is. Even very long format, 45-minute on-demand webinars can do well, because if they have a good title, strong description, and then the topic is something somebody wants to see. Of course, always putting closed captions is important as well, because there are so many people that don't want to put the sound on. They just want to read and see if it captures their attention. As far as images in blog posts, again, another one of those controversial questions where some people, search engine optimization consultants, whatever, will say you always have to have an image. I don't agree with that. I think you need to have an image if it supports the content. So if it's a strong screenshot or it's some kind of engaging image that will pull people in and it's worth having it in your post, add it. Otherwise, it's just going to slow down the page load time, which can annoy people, take up some really prime real estate on the top of the header, which can annoy people. So I use images in my blog posts very judiciously, where they make sense, and kind of help my blog members to see that as well. And definitely don't use images that you are not sure are free or without copyright, because we have seen blog members get contacted by lawyers when they use images that they think are free from the internet and they're not.
No, I understand that. It is very important to make sure that the content that you're sharing is able to be shared in the use that you're using it. I know that there are some services that give you stock images that you can pay for to get rights to use them and such. So it is important to not just copy somebody else's blog post. I have seen blog posts where the image is, the same, that you could tell obviously someone, either they paid for the same service. I'm not going to say that somebody had used somebody else's image without use rights, but it's important to make sure. I know.
Not only that, you have to keep the receipt if you buy an image. It's funny, the instances where we've had these legal action letters that said, prove to us that you bought this. And the member was able to do that by saying, yes, here's the receipt. I bought it from this company. Okay,
yes.
good.
I do as well know somebody who had an issue with content that they tried, they thought it was just, I could just download the image and use it. And they found out rather quickly that that image was not, free to use, I guess you could say.
There are people that do that on purpose, that make it look like it's free, and they're waiting for you to
really?
use it.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I've seen that. But we also do something where we, check for plagiarism, see if people are copying content. We use tools for that also when we do rewrites for our members. So for example, if you have a blog post on your own site that you like, it's getting good traffic, our writers will rewrite it so that it's less than 50% the same, and then post that on our group blog. And the idea is to kind of just give you double mileage out of one
That's
post.
Interesting. So you have a service, is that for members, or is that an additional service? Is that for anybody that is a member, or is there a tiered level of membership?
Good question. So we actually offer that service to any of our members for a fee. They can get it a la carte, and we charge, right now there's two levels, $95 for a blog post rewrite, or $115 for like a video post or podcast summary, ebook summary, things like that. But for a straight rewrite, $95 per rewrite for any of our members. Or we have a higher tier where that level includes one article written for the member a month, as well as a bunch of other kind of more VIP perks.
Okay, so then you will also, so if somebody goes back to what you were talking about, if how to get content, whether it's through yourself, through dictation and transcription, through getting your billable resources to contribute so you have the masses, you also offer the service to write content for members to post under them. Now, as far as the content, so if I have a blog, okay, and I become a member, what are your thoughts on me taking a blog post that I have already written and giving you the same exact blog post to post? Is that something, or would you always recommend changing it in some fashion for each of those sites?
So it's not as much about how I feel about it, it's how Google feels about it. And Google is like the judge, jury, executioner when it comes to search rankings.
I call that
right?
Grandpa Google, because Grandpa knows everything and he'll tell you everything.
So you can post duplicate content on multiple sites, but there is a correct way to do it. And what that is you put something called a canonical link into the duplicate in the back end when you're posting it. For example, our site is a WordPress site, so there's just a little field where you put a canonical link to the original article. So you're basically telling Google, I know this is a duplicate. I'm not trying to trick you. This is the link to the original article, which is good because you're still getting exposure on multiple sites. However, all the SEO kind of juice and power is going to go to that original post. So you're not going to see the search rankings as high. For example, on the ERP SoftwareBlog, if that's the second place that you posted it, you're not going to see your results being as high because Google's still just looking at the original one. So it's going to be a bit harder for people to find that duplicate article. However, they're still going to find the original, if that makes sense. So it's not bad for you. It's just not going to give you quite as much oomph.
So you may not get double
SEO
exposure
power
from having two posts the same on multiple sites, unless there's some variation where your service is you'll rewrite it to make it different. Is a member of your...
So Google doesn't tell you how much you have to change it to make it be considered different, but it has to be substantial. You can't just change the title, change a couple words. It has to be look like a substantially different article. And that's why we offer this rewrite service, because often it's quite difficult to rewrite something you wrote because you liked it the first time you wrote it. So to get a fresh perspective can be very helpful. Then you end up having two pieces of content.
As a member of one of your sites, do they have access to the statistics of their content that they post individually or collectively across the site?
Both, actually. So when they log into the dashboard of the site, the WordPress site, they can see the stats of their own articles that they've posted. Download that to Excel if they want to, make some fancy charts or whatever. And then once a month, we actually send out statistics of the entire blog site and the most popular articles. So that would tell you, the percentage of increase and total number of visitors. But really the best way for somebody to gauge, is this working, would be to look at your own Google Analytics and to track the number of referral clicks, say from the ERP SoftwareBlog back to my site. And you can actually equate that to what it might cost you for those clicks if you paid for Google AdWords, which are quite expensive, right? So that's one way to look at it in terms of ROI and proof is, am I getting extra clicks that are bringing people back to my website from the ERP SoftwareBlog? But then, of course, there's all the intangible benefits that is, so wonderful in marketing, all those things that you can't always put your finger on, like branding, like exposure, like somebody seeing you again and again. So I absolutely have blog members that tell me, a prospect called, told me they read my blog article, liked it, and called me. Or they went directly to my contact us form. And that's awesome because it's so easy to see the direct link between I did this and I got this win. It's not always that simple, but it definitely, it's a just part of your whole marketing strategy, your whole, the whole wheel.
No, it is.
In the
I
wheel.
get excited and inspired when I speak with you. It's just amazing because it's a digital world and it's important, and you do have to realize and think, like we keep saying, it's the repetitive visibility, I guess you could call it. I don't even know how to classify it, but for people to know that you're there, to know that you're an expert, and you may not always be able to quantify the value sometimes of that because what was the trigger that made someone call you? Was it because they saw you 100 times? Was it because they saw you 5 times? They had to get comfortable enough to know that I want to speak to this, resource for their service, whatever that may be. Do you offer any downloads as part of your site? Is there any, if I had a product or something to download, like brochures, literature?
So we have a white paper section where people can download white papers or ebooks that you might have. But you're really able to put in as many links in your blog articles as you like. So that would enable you to bring them back to your site to then capture that contact information for a download. We have an ISV product directory, and on that site you can also put buttons for whatever you'd like. If you want to put a button for a demo, for a download, so you can get creative. I really too, I think it's important to mention that my roots have always been working at small VARs. That's my style. I've never been a real corporate type gal. I tried it, didn't like it. So I really think it's important to keep our membership affordable for all types of companies so that even small VARs can join. So we started out at $125 a month membership fee, and we're at $175 a month 12 years later. So we're not trying to milk the community, right? It's more about wanting even small partners to be able to get involved. And we have very small one-man shops, and we have huge, multinational VARs that are members as well, which to them the membership fee is, just a drop in their $1 million marketing budget. But we do that. Monthly fee is $175 a month for the most popular package, and then that higher package that gets them all kinds of extra writing and VIP stuff is $475 a month. And it's always been month to month, so we don't lock people into long-term commitments, just because that's how I feel I would like to be treated, is to be able to try something, pay a decent, fair price for it, and see the results.
I agree with you. I mean, so for $2,000 a year to have that exposure among articles from other members of the community, I mean, everybody can get, significant benefit, I think, from this, community.
With 90,000 traffic a month, it's actually a pretty good deal.
Yeah, like you said, the Google AdWords are pretty expensive. I mean, you could spend, $30, $25, dollars a day, or even more, hundreds of dollars a day, depending upon what the keywords are that you're using.
Absolutely.
And you're not,
Absolutely.
I think they look at it a little
And
differently.
you can really use it to supplement other campaigns that you're doing. Say somebody's going to a trade show, they're paying tens of thousands of dollars to exhibit at a community trade show, which is great. But can they be adding blog posts before, during, after that are targeted to get more people even at that show to see their content and everything? So it's a nice complement to other marketing campaigns like that to get your name out to more people.
No, I appreciate it. That's great. Speaking of conferences, I know Microsoft Dynamics Business Central, 365 Business Central, the Directions conference is coming up in April. Are you going to be attending that conference, or are you not attending them?
I am sadly not going to be at that one. I have such FOMO, fear of missing out. I know that Directions is an excellent event. I was at my first Directions EMEA this last year in Hamburg, which was excellent. I was really, really impressed with the way that
I
it
am
was
so
put on.
envious
I
of
know
you
that
for
it's different
that.
groups,
Just like everybody else. That's my goal this year, is to hit EMEA. I was not able to attend.
And the next one's in France, in Lyon, France, which I heard is a beautiful city. So I'm very often invited to these types of conferences on a press pass, which is wonderful. And yeah, so Directions EMEA was the first time I was there as a media sponsor.
Wow, that's great.
To get some exposure.
Cool.
And that helps our members as well, right? So everybody that's in my ERP SoftwareBlog community is getting that extra exposure when I go to these events and tweeting.
Can we tag along with you?
Can we what?
Can we tag along with you?
I think you need to focus on becoming the most widely listened to podcast in our space, and I think I'll be seeing you at those press booths.
Well, the ERP SoftwareBlog and the information that you have given us today has inspired us, I think, to see how we can become that, premier podcast out there. But Anya, thank you very much for taking the time to speak with us today. You have valuable information. And it's always an inspiration speaking with you, because I always, you fill my mind with ideas. I listen to what you say and I think how I can expand that and go on. And I look forward to, seeing more from the ERP SoftwareBlog, the ERP Cloud blog, and the CRM SoftwareBlog. I think they're amazing resources, both for partners and ISVs, as well as readers, to go and find content from all the partners in one spot without having to jump around.
And if anyone is interested in more tips like these, or wants to know details of signing up, the website that we have for VARs and ISVs that are interested is called groupbloggers.com.
Groupbloggers.com. Okay. We'll put links to that in the show note to all of these. Typically, I think that's the best way to get a hold of you if they needed more information, is to one of these websites and contact you through there. Or on LinkedIn. I see you're quite active on there as well, too. So we'll put a link there. And again, I appreciate your time and all of the knowledge that you shared with us today. It's truly inspiring, I know, to me personally. So I do appreciate it.
Excellent. We're going to turn you into a blogger yet.
Yes. Well, I have, Kris and I both do some articles. I'll have to send them by you to see if you think that we need some help.
We just have to combine some of those into the blog within this podcast.
Yes.
Exactly. You have all the content there. We can help you get it more. Really nice to talk with both of you.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Same. Thank you, Anya.
Ciao. Thank you, Kris, for your time for another episode of In the Dynamics Corner Chair. And thank you to our guests for participating.
Thank you, Brad, for your time. It is a wonderful episode of Dynamics Corner Chair. I would also like to thank our guests for joining us. Thank you for all of our listeners tuning in as well. You can find Brad at developerlife.com. That is DVLPRLIFE.com. And you can interact with them via Twitter, DVLPRLIFE. You can also find me at matalino.io, MATALINO.io. And my Twitter handle is matalino16. And you can see those links down below in the show notes. Again, thank you, everyone. Thank you and take care.